welcome back to the Daily Signal's Facebook. My name is Kelsey Harkness. I am a reporter here at the Daily Signal, and I am joined...
You are a reporter at the Daily Signal. I know you.
Yeah.
You're everywhere.
Me, and I'm joined by the one and only Larry O'Connor.
One and only.
And if you don't know who Larry O'Connor is, he's a radio host, a big name radio host in the Washington, D.C. area. On my way to and from work, I'm always listening to him. And over the past few years, I've actually had the opportunity to join you
you're
on
a great
bunch
guest.
of your shows.
Well, you've been making news. You write such great things, and
Thank
you make trouble, which we love.
Do cause a little bit of trouble. Sometimes we're problematic.
You are a problematic woman is what you are, and I don't know how to deal with you. Yeah.
But we're flipping the script right now.
I know. Here, I'm taking over. I'm going to shut up. Yes, please.
You're not used to being
I know. It's very weird
interviewed.
to me. I'm getting the shakes. I'll be
well,
all
I do
right.
want to ask, sort of on the personal side, it's not easy to make it in the radio world.
Yeah.
But you did.
Yeah, I got really, really lucky. This is a brand new career for me. When I was 40, I decided to change careers. I used to work in the theater business, Broadway theater, believe it or not, as an actor in the management and production side. But people always said that, oh, you have such a good voice, you should do voiceover, things like that. And I started writing for Andrew Breitbart, originally for Andrew himself, all the way at his original sites. And I started doing a live stream, not unlike your podcasting and your Facebook Living. No, seriously, but this was a while ago, so it was before
you were ahead of the time.
Live streaming was really taking off, yeah. And I just was lucky enough to get on the radar of some really kind and generous broadcasters like Hugh Hewitt and Dennis Miller. And I ended up being their fill-in host. They liked what I was doing. They liked the content I was coming in because I was working so closely with Andrew and the great stuff we were doing at Breitbart in those early days. One thing led to another, and the next thing I know, I'm here in Washington, D.C. on WMAL. So it's a weird, trust me, it's not normal what happened to me.
Well, I find it fascinating being a radio host in Washington, D.C. because you are covering local issues. Yeah. You are covering state issues with Virginia, Maryland, and the District of Columbia, and you're covering federal issues. Yeah. And I always find it fascinating how the local issues that are relevant to a lot of your listeners end up being national issues. For example, you cover a lot of battles with local school boards, which is kind of representative of the cultural battles that are playing out nationwide. And I think you bring attention to these more personal stories to show how these types of battles are playing out across the country.
Thank you so much for noticing that, because it's been sort of my mantra. It's more important what happens in your house than in the White House. For some reason, our founders never meant for this to be the case, that every 4 years we are so obsessed about who's sitting in the Oval Office. They didn't want us to care who the president was. We should care who our local representatives are, right? That's the structure of our constitutional republic, is the best representation and the best governance comes from local issues, or local politicians. It was remarkable to me that people were so obsessed with the presidential election, but they couldn't name one member of their school board. What's more important in your life right now? It's your children, the education that they're getting, that, by the way, they're stealing your tax money to pay for, and you don't really have much say in it. And I started finding these issues in Montgomery County and Fairfax County, which are counties around the greater Washington area. And then I researched across the country and realized this stuff is going on everywhere. The tragic events of what happened last week down in Florida, unspeakable horror. And as we've seen the politics of that play out, people have been really concerned about, well, these kids, they're just getting talking points or whatever, and they're saying all these things. No, these kids believe what they believe, not because George Soros gave them a sheet of paper. It's because they've been taught this since they were in kindergarten.
Interesting.
With our tax dollars. And listen, the stuff that you guys do at Heritage Foundation and at the Daily Signal, you have so much great content for me to be able to educate myself with. Seriously, I mean, I've been able to learn so much about our policies at our school level, and I really do think that that's the hidden story, and by the way, the hidden power that we as conservatives have. We don't exercise the power at the school board level like we could. If we got together and got energized and raised money and really tried to make a difference in our children's education at the district level and at the state level, we could make a huge difference in this country, and we're not worrying about from the top down, we're doing it from the grassroots up. And now I'm just going to keep talking for the next 20 minutes about this. I get passionate about it.
Another issue that you cover and track locally is the issue of gangs and MS-13 violence, which a lot of people might not realize is very, very prevalent, not far from the nation's capital. Can you explain how this has been playing out?
When Joy Reid on MSNBC said, Joy, the president in the State of the Union mentioned MS-13, and let's go watch Fox News, you don't know who MS-13 is. that was the most ignorant statement I think I've ever heard. You know, the very liberal, completely controlled by Democrats, Montgomery County Council, just 3 months ago voted to increase their spending against MS-13 gang membership by about $1.5 million to try to defeat these gangs. When we saw the influx of the unaccompanied minors toward the final 3 years of the Obama administration cross the border, you know, they were all processed, they were put into planes, they were relocated. Montgomery County, Fairfax County, and I believe Prince George's County, which are 3 surrounding counties here in the greater Washington area, they're ranked in the top 10 in terms of the population of unaccompanied minors, alien minors, who were brought across the border during that time. And since then, we have seen an increase in this crime activity from MS-13 and other gangs. And of course, the victims of all of that horrible, violent crime are immigrants, legal and illegal immigrants, because that violence is happening in their neighborhoods. You know, there was a time when conservatives used the term compassionate conservative. To me, knuckling down on our immigration policies and making sure that violent criminals don't have carte blanche in our system, there's nothing more compassionate about that. That's something tragic that's going on. And yeah, it's a huge story in the Washington area.
Well, we appreciate you covering that, because not all media are.
No. Well, and again, I just want to this wasn't a setup or anything, but I mean, the stuff that Hans von Spakovsky is writing about at the Heritage Foundation and the Daily Signal, I mean, this is my go-to place to educate myself. I love what you're doing. I love how you've been able to take the white papers from Heritage and make it so digestible at the Daily Signal so that I can be prepared for my show every day. It's a huge part of my education process. And the immigration stuff and the crime stuff, that's your content is great.
We're really honored to hear that.
I was not paid to say any of this.
Okay, well, I'm going to put you on the spot and switch gears to a more lighthearted topic. So for those who don't know, I am honored to be speaking on a panel this year at CPAC on Saturday. It's called Us Too, Left Out by the Left. And the theme of this is how conservative women are really left out of the quote-unquote feminist movement. And we're going to be talking about, do conservative women, do they or should they identify as feminists, or should we just reject that term because it's been so hijacked by Planned Parenthood and their supporters. But I'm curious from a male perspective what you think of some of these movements, like the Me Too and the Women's March, and how these are affecting men, because so often we focus on ourselves, but I'm curious of hearing your perspective.
Oh, great. Oh, well, gosh, I can't get into trouble with this. How does the women's movement affect men?
Yes.
Or the Me Too movement? Listen, I'm a father of 2 daughters. I have 2 teenage daughters right now who are about to be going into college in the next couple of years. And I'm a husband too, by the way. And I have great concerns about my daughters dealing with college professors and other boys on campus, and also going into the business world. You know, I mean, I don't know any man who isn't concerned about that. These are my precious jewels, my daughters. I don't want some creepy Harvey Weinstein, you know, going after them. So as a father, my gut emotional instinct is, you know, lock them all up, you know, let's put them in the stockades, these guys. But at the same time, see, here's the thing. We can't make public policy and law based on the gut emotional reaction of a father who feels like he wants to protect his daughter. That should be part of the conversation, but we also have to look at the important things in our system, like due process, like evidence, like an actual, structure of laws that actually bring things out, bring up evidence, allow someone to defend themselves, and then let the system play itself out. And I have grave concerns about that. As wonderful as it was to see Al Franken go down in flames, one worries that this thing is a boulder going down the mountain. And again, I'm not speaking as a man as much as just an American.
Oh, well, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, we heard, actually has these exact concerns that you're raising, and this is someone who I think a lot of the feminists really consider an ally.
Yeah, but if you're not notorious RBG saying that, you're a crazy sexist, you're misogynist, you're just trying to protect a child molester, which of course we're not. But, you know, there are higher ideals sometimes in our society that we do. I mean, I want to protect people, but I also want to protect freedom and liberty. And we need to find that balance. But that's the balance we've been arguing about since the Federalist Papers, right?
Well, Larry, thank you so much for joining us. How can anyone watching right now follow your work and listen to your show?
Well, you know, I have a byline at Washington Times where I blog every day and have an op-ed there. And also I'm at WMAL.com, which is the website for our radio station. And check it out.
And thank you all for tuning in.
And you'll hear Kelsey on my show often.
I will be there. It's one of my favorite radio shows to join.
Say it again.
We'll see you next time. For the Daily Signal, I'm Kelsey Harkness.